Hey Hodies, well, welcome to my channel. My name is hautemesstom, and thank you so much for clicking on this video. Today I'll be doing a long form review of the Surratt Dew Drop Foundation. So it's gonna be pretty long, but I should have everything chaptered down below for you so you can click to whatever part of the review you are interested in seeing. If you are new here, hi, welcome. I run my channel on a few ethos, but my main ethos is that I like to love my makeup collection as it is. As you may know, the Surratt Dew Drop Foundation is not a new thing to the market. I'm actually reviewing it because a couple of my subscribers had asked me to, so that's what we're doing here. But I also think there is merit in reviewing this foundation and showing you how it works, because I think a lot of people who enjoy it on the internet just kind of came into it like being like, this is just the foundation that I like. I'm here to show you like how it works, the way that I like to use it, and hopefully give you a little bit more confidence if you do decide to buy this, that you know what you're getting yourself into. So I would love to have you subscribe if you are new here and that kind of content sounds good. Make sure you like this video before you click away from it. And I'm also on patreon.com if you would like to support me there. Here it is. It's in my hands. It's in my divine... It's in my divine little hands. I'm leaving. I'm quitting YouTube. I just want to say this up front before I get too far into the review, is that if you've been here and if you have seen one of my foundation reviews before, normally I am reviewing a foundation that I've never tried before. Whether or not it's new to the market, it's a product that is new to me. This is admittedly my second bottle of this foundation, so I've already used a whole bottle of it. I liked it enough to go again. I think that will lead you to believe that I'm already coming into this positively thinking about this foundation. My goal here with this review is to just really detail and show you how the product works and try to illuminate some of the highlights for me when it comes to this product. But that does not mean I do not have any criticisms of this foundation, and we will jump into that in my final thought. They might unravel and they might expose themselves as we continue the conversation. Before we get started with the video, I want to tell you a little bit about my skin type and what I'm looking for out of a foundation. My skin tone is very fair. I'm typically the first light shade. If there's fair, then I'm like one of the first light shades. I'm normally in like the first light neutral shade is typically where I land whenever I'm buying a foundation. My skin is pretty oily and it develops oils throughout the day. My skin is not sensitive or acne prone, so I don't really normally have any issues with that. My main concerns that I'm looking for a foundation to help me with is to cover my redness. I just have some redness on my face that I like to cover or at least neutralize. And I want my foundation to blur my pores. If not, just make sure that it's not enhancing them in any way, because pores are the thing that I'm always trying to hide on my face. My typical preference when it comes to foundation is I like a light to medium coverage, and I like it to have either like a skin finish or a dewy or a satin finish. I don't very much like the matte look. I just think that for me, it feels like my skin looks more alive whenever I have a more luminous finish. Something I always like to do with my foundation reviews is talk about why I bought it. I don't really know how this started. Towards the end of my tenure of when I worked at Sephora, and yes, I worked at Sephora, I was kind of in a new lane when it came to foundations. I was finding myself reaching in my foundation drawer for things that I normally wouldn't. So I started using my Glossier skin tint a lot, and I also finally felt the freedom to start really wearing makeup that we didn't sell at Sephora. You can wear makeup you don't sell at Sephora when you work at Sephora. However, you are encouraged to wear things that we sell at the store. If someone comes up to you and says, your eyeshadow looks really good, which one is it? Your lipstick's really cool, which lipstick is it? Sometimes when you're trying some things from really great brands that we don't carry at Sephora, people can kind of clock the specialness sometimes, like, because, you know, if you're wearing an eyeshadow from an indie brand or something like that. So that's the thing. Anyway, I leave Sephora. I start actually really watching YouTube content for the first time. Like, I definitely watched YouTube in like 2017 era, but I like really started watching it in kind of a real fashion once I left Sephora, specifically beauty YouTube. I had been watching YouTube more, but specifically with beauty content, I was taking it in more. I came across Michelle Wong's channel. Michelle Wong, if you are not familiar with her content, exclusively reviews luxury beauty. But many times she has mentioned this being her favorite foundation. I think Surratt was having a sale whenever I decided I want it, or maybe it was around Memorial Day. I really don't quite recall, but I remember being able to get it for 25% off through Surratt's website, and I snagged it because it's not an inexpensive product. Really, the reason I tried it was Michelle Wong. It kind of met a lot of the expectations I had for it, so we were off to a really, really grand start whenever I got it in my hands. So let me say some things about this foundation, some facts. It's $75. It promises to have a light to medium coverage. It provides a dewy finish. It's a liquid formula, and you get 0.64 fluid ounces. Now, if you have never really paid attention to how many ounces you get whenever you buy a foundation, typically 1 ounce is the standard. I see 1.18 a little bit more now. So it's normally like more than an ounce if you are getting a foundation, if it's not an ounce, but this is almost half of the amount of product for definitely a higher price point. So we're gonna state that right out the gate. That is a fact about this foundation. This is normally the portion of the video where I do a really like stupid commercial. However, Surratt does not mince their words on their website whenever they try to describe this foundation, which is cool, but it doesn't give me a lot of leeway for creativity when it comes to the commercial. The commercial this time is going to be a close-up view of the product, a close-up view of it dripping down my hand so you can see the viscosity of it, just so I can give you a little better look of the packaging. I discussed the packaging throughout the video, but just so you can see an up close of it. So I'm going to read you what Surratt says about this foundation. And these words came directly from Surratt's website. Natural, seamless, lightweight. This light to medium coverage foundation has a dewy, hydrating finish that's ideal for everyday wear. Its unique delivery system ensures your complexion receives the optimal amount of coverage each time you apply in 20 shades. So now I'm gonna share with you some things about the ingredients in here. I always set this disclaimer is that whenever I'm talking about ingredients, I'm never trying to fearmonger. I know that there are a lot of places on the internet that want to make you feel bad for using products that have certain ingredients in them, and that is not at all what I'm trying to do. So what I'm normally looking for when I'm looking at ingredients, like standout ingredients that I've never seen in a foundation before, because I've been doing this for enough time that I've seen what's normal and what's not. Call out anything that may be triggering for acne. And finally, just like calling out ingredients that I know that some people really like to avoid. You can choose to avoid those ingredients on your own time with your own research, but I'm not here to tell you whether these ingredients are good or bad. I'm just bringing them up to like bring them to the forefront of your mind, because I think one thing that we forget a lot about foundation, or most cosmetics, honestly, is that this is going on our face, and a foundation goes like all over your face. So I just think it's something to consider. This product is full of emollients and humectants. So people who have dry skin typically like a dewier look to their foundation. I'm not saying that it's an exclusive thing to people with dry skin, but that's the feedback that I tend to hear even though I don't have dry skin. And there are silicones in this product as well. And I think that silicones they do some good work sometimes, especially whenever we're looking for blurring. And I think that, you know, the promise of this foundation, it makes sense that there are silicones in it. This next ingredient, I'm just shouting out from my friends who are acne prone. The ingredient stearic acid has come up a few times in my foundation reviews, and some websites, I use a handful of different websites when I'm reviewing the ingredients. I look the ingredients up one by one to see like what they are used for and why they might be in a formula. So stearic acid, what it does, it's an ingredient that protects your skin's surface from water loss. And the thing is, it can be comedogenic. If your acne gets triggered from potentially an ingredient that might clog your pores, this might be something that triggers that. However, I say that it's kind of on the lower half of the ingredient list, which means there's not as much in it as there are some of the other ingredients in here. So I always recommend to someone who has acne and is concerned about any foundation triggering their acne is always get a sample first, try it a handful of times with your sample, see if your skin reacts anyway, and then make the decision from there. If you live in a city, a metropolitan area, or you live in an area that has like a Nordstrom or a Neiman Marcus, or those stores sometimes will have Surratt at their makeup counter, then they might be able to hook you up with a foundation sample if you have acne prone skin and you wanted to try this product. And I just need to shout this out because I know this is like an ingredient that many people are trying to avoid in their makeup right now, is that there is talc in this product, but I do want to mention that it is almost the very last ingredient, and I'm fairly certain that the talc is in there for specific shades and might not appear in every shade because it's in the part of the ingredients where different iron oxides that create the pigments are. So I don't know how much of it's in there, but again, if you're just concerned about avoiding it altogether, just know that it is in there. So now I'm going to send you to some footage of me applying the foundation a handful of different ways. I like to, in my foundation reviews, apply it 3 different ways: with my fingers, with a sponge, and then with a brush, so you can see the way it applies all 3 ways. On the 4th day is the day I normally do the wear test, and in the wear test, I will apply it my favorite way that I have applied it of the previous 3 days. I like to do this because everyone likes to apply their makeup differently. So this might be really good to apply with your hands. If you like applying foundation with your hands, this might be a foundation you want to try, etc. That's why I do it. But also for me to learn about the foundation, how it is the best applied, and what I have the best application with, so that I can decide if I want to keep it. Because particularly for me, I don't really like applying things with a sponge right now. I'm not in a sponge phase. So if it's best applied with a sponge, it's like not really a foundation that I'm like super interested in keeping around in my collection. That's why I do this. So I'm going to send you to the footage. And I want to say this: if you are someone who has seen one of my other foundation reviews, these ones go a lot faster because I don't have to talk myself through how I feel, because I already know how I feel about this product. So it does expedite the process just a little bit, having had this product for more than a year. It's just a little bit different. So I'm just setting up the expectation for the vibes. And I wanna let you know that for some reason, the audio on my sponge application section got weird, and I didn't want to re-record it, so just know that. But it's only that section of the video. The audio comes back for the brush application and the wear test. Okay, let's do a hand application of the Surratt Dew Drop Foundation. Typically in my foundation reviews, this is the part of the video where like I take in the packaging, but unlike my other foundation videos, I've been using this foundation for quite some time. But I do think it's one of those foundations that people have some like mystique around, and there are a lot of people who say that they like this foundation, but no one who hasn't bought it really knows what it's like. So I'm hoping to myth bust, to show you what this foundation is actually really like by just demoing it for you the 3 ways that I normally demo a foundation. So I'm going to show you the bottle. The bottle of this foundation is like this really beautiful dark iridescent, is like what I'm calling it. It goes like from a sparkly purple to a sparkly blue. Very gorgeous, very stunning, very Surratt. I think all of Surratt's products like come in something that comes in this colorway. The main difference between this foundation and I think many other foundations is that it is a product that you squeeze out, and it has a dropper. However, this is not something that you can squeeze. So on the bottom of the packaging, there is basically a button for a dropper, and the foundation comes out of a pump like this. So from just my history with this product, what I would tell you is if you were to ever to buy it, I would suggest you storing it upside down, because the first couple times I used it, I felt like I couldn't get the product out, or it took a while to get the product to get going. And then once I started storing it upside down on its lid with the pump part on top, it worked a little bit better. So I would say that is like a design flaw in this overall. I also think that the flow of this particular review is going to feel a little bit different. I'm going to tell you things that I know as I go, because nothing is really a surprise to me at this point. I've also applied it all 3 ways that I normally apply it before, and I already know my preferred methods, and I could tell you that right now, but I'm gonna withhold all that information until later on in the video. That's what this is like. That's what it looks like. That's what it feels like. It feels pretty weighted in the hands, and I'm using the shade 3. I'm wondering if there is potentially a better shade match for me, but 3 works for me. As always, I will be priming my face for day 1 with the vitamin enriched face base from Bobbi Brown. I say this in every video, but in case you're new here, I like the Bobbi Brown as my first primer whenever I'm testing a foundation, because it is like the most neutral of my primers, meaning that it makes my skin feel good, it makes my skin look good, but the promises of this primer is really just grip. It doesn't add any luminosity. It doesn't make my skin so moisturized or so glowy that it affects the actual finish of the foundation that I'm using. Because sometimes I will use something like the Glowy Makeup Serum from Laneige, but that will make my skin look really glowy, and it affects the finish of the product. Okay, like always, I'm going to apply the foundation to the half of my face. We will check in so you can see the coverage from one side versus the other side. Then I will show you my full face, we'll zoom in, and then we'll chat a little bit about how I feel about applying it with my hands. I'm just gonna put a few drops in my hand. I'm gonna go with 3, and I'm actually gonna rub my hands together and then tap this into the skin. Here's the foundation. Here's the side without foundation. As always, whenever I am doing these demos, I always forget to mention this, but I'm not going to be using any concealer while I'm testing this foundation out for you whenever I'm demoing it in here, just because I want you to be able to see the foundation and how it looks. Sans concealer, sans color corrector, sans anything else I normally do. I'm going to zoom you in so you can see the skin up close. I think I also forgot to mention that this is my second bottle of this foundation, so it is something I have used up and repurchased, but this was a backup, so technically I repurchased it a while ago. I have a little bit left on a mixing palette. I'm gonna tap it into the skin. This eyeshadow is also uncontrollable, so if you saw any blue flakes, I apologize. Anyway, so I have actually come to really like applying this foundation with my hands. You'll see that I also like it another way that I apply it in this video as well. But actually, I think I've been applying it most with my hands recently. And so as you can see, basically what I think this foundation does a really good job at is refracting light and making your skin just look really blurred and like really perfected. And that is, in my opinion, like the best thing I can ask for. The coverage is light. I don't think there's too much coverage for it, but it just hides a lot of the sins. It definitely evens out the skin tone. So that's like the part of this that I guess, spoiler alert, I love this foundation. I don't think I need to say that. Like, I think all of the things I've already said is like, this is my second bottle, this, that, the other thing. Like, I already like this foundation. Like, I know this foundation, but I'm just telling you the qualities that I like about it. But also whenever you apply with your hands, you even get a more sheer coverage than you might with a sponge or a brush. So this is it at its like thinnest application. And it just looks so gorgeous and light and effortless. And that's like really the vibe that I'm going for foundations these days. I am probably not going to be able to do natural lighting today. I'm up to some other things today. I'm doing Critical Sass Live tonight. You will have already seen Critical Sass Live, but I need to do some things in order to get ready for Critical Sass Live. And I think what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be using creams on it today. I can already tell you that both creams and powder products work really well on top of this. So I'm just gonna leave that there, but I think I might powder it before I go. I'll be using the Pat McGrath powder. The reason I'm using the Pat McGrath powder is because I don't wanna affect the quality of the foundation itself. I find that this just does a little bit of mattifying, but not so much blurring and not really coverage. Whereas the powders I typically like to use do a lot more work in that department. So I'm just taking like the lightest bit of the Pat McGrath and patting it over. So this is the side with powder, without. So yeah, just a little bit of mattifying, but you can still see the nice glow that this foundation has through it. I think I'm gonna have to use powder products over this now, but that's totally fine. I'm gonna do that off camera. I will have already seen you at Critical Sass Live, and then I'll come back tomorrow for the sponge application. It's sponge day. It's day 2. I'm again putting makeup on at night, so I don't think I'm gonna have in real time footage for you, but I am doing my makeup during the day tomorrow, so I will have footage for you with the brush in daylight, which is something I normally like to do, try to make an effort to do, except time has been getting away from me and it's getting dark faster. But it is 7:30 on a Friday night. So crazy. Party over here. We're gonna do a couple of things because I know how this foundation performs on top of all of the primers I own because I've just been using it for so long. I'm going to use a different primer today. It's not going to affect the coverage with the sponge. I'm just going to show you that it works on different primers. It's a very agreeable foundation, so that's what I'm demoing here for you today. Today I will be actually priming with the Thorn Oil from Ritual de Fille. It's going to give us a different finish though. Be aware that we are going to look a lot more glowy. While it is like a dewdrop foundation, right? It has some glow to it. It's going to look a lot glowier than it did just based with this primer. But you can see what it looks like on top of a different primer and see how it plays with a different primer. I don't normally do this with my foundation reviews. Typically with my foundation reviews, it's like the first couple times I wear the foundation ever. And this is like a review that I've been essentially prepping 2 years. Like, I know how I feel about this foundation. But I just like demoing it all of these ways because everyone likes to apply their foundation a little bit differently, and you might apply it just even differently than I do. I'm doing it 3 ways, but there are certainly more that you could do. I can't think of any right now because I'm not a smart person. You know, I put things away and then I'm always shocked with myself and surprised that I have put things away, and then it's like, why isn't it in front of me? It's like, because You did the thing that you were supposed to do, Tom. Let me get some drops out of the Dew Drop Foundation, just showing you that I'm using that one. Not that I don't think you guys believe me. You know what's interesting? I have been using that other one for quite some time, the one I just finished of this foundation, and maybe I bought a different shade the first time. This looks like a different shade, or, you know, as it gets exposed to air, you know, the colors change a little bit. So that might have been on me. But we're just gonna do my right side of my face. It'll be the left to you, I think. I think that's how this works. This foundation on this side, no foundation on this side. Let me do the other side, and then I'll talk a little bit about how I feel about applying this with a sponge. Foundation is fully applied. I'm gonna zoom you in so you can get a closer look at it. I would say if you are someone who exclusively likes to apply foundation with a sponge, then this wouldn't be the one for you. And the only reason I say that is because you get not even a full ounce of product with it, and I don't normally feel so bad about my sponge eating product, right, or my sponge soaking up product. It's like not normally something that I think a lot about, but I just think it eats too much of this product. And while I still think my face looks beautiful and I still think it looks really good, I wouldn't say that this is like a wrong way to apply it. I would just say that this is one of those instances where I'm like, I do feel like it's like eating just a little bit too much of my product up. I feel like I used more than I used whenever I applied with my hands, and I feel like my coverage was lighter. That's not a problem. I don't mind this level of coverage. I think it looks quite nice. I think it looks really beautiful. As far as someone who is buying this with their own money, which I did. I bought this with my own money. But I always think it's important to like put this into perspective. It's like when I'm paying $75 for not even an ounce, I would not want to use a sponge with it, but it still looks really good. And again, you're still seeing the filter even with this different primer. We are getting a little bit more gloss, I would say, today, but it's not much different than it looked yesterday. Maybe I'll disagree when I'm editing, but I still think it looks really beautiful, healthy. It's just my favorite kind of thing. So I will send you right over to the brush application. All right, it's brush application day. It's brush application day. As we tried a different primer yesterday, I will also be doing a different primer today. This is the Glowy Makeup Serum from Laneige. And I'll just show you what it looks like on top of that. So let me prep my skin real quick with this, and then let's get to putting on the foundation. The cracks in the foundation. It's been like a few weeks since I've used this. I really like this primer. I really like this as a primer. Although, I mean, not really a focus of this video, I have been reaching for the Thorn Oil way more than I thought I was going to. So we will see. As always, I'm going to do the right side of my face, which will be the left for you. And then I will report back, and then we'll finish it, and then I will tell you my thoughts about the brush. Here's the side with the foundation. Here's the side without the foundation. Okay, I'm gonna do the other side and then I will report back to you. I have some extra. I'll blend it down my neck and then I'll zoom you in. Here it is. I just feel like I look like I have a filter on my face. It's so great. This is like the exact thing that I'm looking for in a foundation. In fact, ever since I bought this foundation, it really truly has been like the standard at which I hold other foundations to. I guess I'm not really coming in with a bias here. It's just like I have been using this the most out of all of the foundations I probably have ever used. The last time I bought a second bottle of anything, it was the Fenty foundation, the OG Fenty foundation. I think I went through 2 of those. Now I'm on my 2nd bottle of this. So it is what it is. Brush is actually my favorite way to apply. You don't get any of like the streakiness in there. There's no concern for that. I think that this formula really lends itself to being blended out with a brush. It's really easy. So I have no complaints there. I am gonna powder, and then I'm gonna film some natural light footage for you and some overhead light footage for you. I'm gonna do that before I do the rest of my face, only because I am recording other content. So I'm just putting powder products on it today. But for my wear test tomorrow, I will put creams on top of it for you just so you can see how those go on. I'm powdering with the Pat McGrath powder again. So I'll see you in a few seconds in natural light, and then I'll show you overhead, and yeah, I think that's it. We're in studio lighting now, so let me powder real quick. Okay, I'm gonna send you over to some iPhone footage. It is not great light. Pittsburgh is a pretty dreary place. So here it is in some gloomy, end of summer weather. Let me show you overhead light. Okay, here we are in some overhead light. The reason I came downstairs is because it's like, obviously we're getting most of the light from the overhead lights in this scenario. I feel like I don't even have to like say anything. I'm just like, let me show you. But I understand that like we need talked through thing. But I will see you tomorrow for the wear test. Hello, it's wear test day. I am not as far along in the day as I thought I would be. That's on. So what I'm going to be doing today is a full face. We're going to speed through it. We're going to go back to the Bobbi Brown. Bobbi Brown's really good at gripping. Perhaps allows some more longevity than maybe the foundation would have in itself. I would say that this is like, going into this, I'm pretty sure it'll wear pretty well for 8 hours, but it's not going to be something you'd be able to wear like 12 hours. That's like not the kind of foundation it is. I don't think that's what it's designed for. So I'm just going to say that going into this. I'm going to be only using cream products on it, and then I will set my face with the Pat McGrath after I've done all of my cream products, and then we will start the wear test. I'm not doing anything outside today, doing anything extraneous, but I'm thinking about watching Everything Everywhere All at Once, which I have not seen, but I've heard that it's a movie that might make you cry. So maybe we'll be doing a cry test, and I'll check in halfway through the 8 hours of wear, and then we will wrap this up. And then that sounds great to me. I'm gonna watch a YouTube video while I'm doing my muck-up, when I'm putting makeup on my face, and you will zoom through it, and I will see you on the other side. I will be watching, this is a shout out to another channel that I've been watching recently. I'm gonna be watching the Patrick Ta foundation review from A Little Night Makeup. I will try to remember to link that down below. Very in-depth reviews, so I'm interested. This is a product that I'm not interested in buying, but I'm interested in hearing about, so I'm very curious to hear what she will say. Likely I will be done with my makeup before this video is over though. Beth is doing some incredibly thorough reviewing. I'm going to actually be recording my eyes for a different video, but we are done with the foundation. It's 12:22. I'll zoom you in. All creams on it today. Powdered as well. I might spray my face after I do my eyeshadow with some Fix Plus. But this is what we're looking at now. Gorgeous stunning. We are also giving the Givenchy lipstick a run for its money today, but I will check back in with you around 4:30, and then I will check in with you at 8:30. So I'll see you then. Hello, it's about 4:30 right now. So after, we're looking oily. We did some crying from watching Everything Everywhere All at Once, but it looks good. Just shiny. This is very common. I have been eating, so the lipstick really has said bon voyage. No. Anyway, I'll see you at 8:30. All right, it's been just about 8 hours. My phone is charging, but it's like 8:35, so it's been just like right about 8 hours. I'm gonna zoom you in so you can take a look at the skin, and then I will take a closer look at it myself. I mean, other than the fact that I have produced a lot of oil, which is common for anything, didn't powder at all today, just gonna let it go. I do have some that has rubbed off around this part of my nose, but I do this when I itch my when I scratch my, like, instead of like scratching my nose when it's itchy when I'm wearing makeup, I just kind of like tap right there. So that's like fairly commonplace, but I'm gonna throw some powder on just so you can see that. I mean, obviously, when it comes to any foundation, powdering a little bit at the end of the day is going to fix some of the sins, but I'm just going to show you that it doesn't really get cakey when you do that, which is like a concern sometimes that people have. Wow, a lot of hair fell out of my literal head today and into my makeup. So yeah. A little bit of powder hides all sins, right? We love to see it. I'm just about to take this makeup off though, so I'm ready to take it off. Not because it was irritating my skin or anything, just like I started later in the day than I wanted to. It was one of those situations. Did I even hit record? Wear test over. I'll send you to me for the final thoughts. Okay, let's wrap things up here. This is my favorite foundation that I've ever tried, and I'm gonna state that up front and right now and here for you to know that. But let me tell you about some caveats that I have with it and problems that I've always had with it since I bought it. The first thing that I do have a big issue with is the way it's packaged. You can't see through it. So I have no idea how much I have left. And considering this is a product that you do not get a full ounce in, it's like you're kind of, even with your first squeeze of some of the drops out, you're like, okay, how much do I have left? Because you really don't know. You just really don't know how much you have left. Beyond that, my guess would be that it has the dark outside to preserve the product inside. Maybe it's a product that would be really highly reactive if you set it out somewhere where natural light would hit it, and it might just turn the product faster, which is like something that is common. Like most products are suggested to be stored in a dark place, but maybe this product is trying to just get around that by making the packaging dark so that sun is less likely to hit the product. I don't know if that's true. That would be my guess. The second problem I have with it, the dropper. The thing is, especially if you have long nails, hitting that button, it's tough. I don't like applying pressure to the end of my long nails. I don't like to do that because my nails aren't the most fragile, but they will bend, right? And I don't want to mess up my nails because I like to have them a little bit longer because I think they look better painted when they're a little bit longer. It doesn't always work. I think at some point in the video, I suggest if you do buy this foundation to store it with the cap down so that the product is always sitting in the nozzle, because I have found that's a best practice for me because the product is right there. When you hit the button on the back to squeeze out product, it will normally come out immediately. But if you store it upright, it takes some shaking, and it's like a little bit of work, right? It's a little bit of work. And so I have at points not stored it upside down, and I thought I was out of foundation, and then all of a sudden it would just start coming out. Not like crazy, because the way it comes out isn't like super fast, like you have some control over it. It's just like a very annoying package. I prefer it in a pump but I can understand why this might not be good in a pump. If not in a pump, just make the entire product squeezable instead of just the button on the back. However, the packaging is aesthetically pleasing to look at. It looks nice on your vanity. It looks nice in your drawer. Just the color of it. It's very, very pleasing to the eye. Pleasing to hold. It has like, I wouldn't say it's like weighted, but it has a nice weight to it. It feels good in the hands, I would say, minus the potential malfunctions of the product because of the way it's packaged. The second thing I don't like about this foundation is that you just don't get a full ounce, right? You're paying like essentially like 50% more for this product for basically 50% less product. That's like rough math, but let's say that most foundations these days run about $50. Now, there are obviously foundations lower and higher, but like the average foundation you're going to buy at Sephora is like somewhere around $40 to $50. And this is $75. And you're getting less product than you would get in foundations that are less expensive. That doesn't mean that I don't find that this product is worth the amount of money that it costs. But like, if there's already a decided industry standard, then why wouldn't you just follow suit and make it $100 or whatever? Just to me, it's just like make it an ounce, right? Like La Mer is expensive, but I bet you get an ounce. I'll fact check that, but I'm gonna guess that you do. And Sicily is expensive, but I bet you get at least an ounce. Surratt is expensive, and you don't get a whole ounce. Now, Surratt is not as expensive as Sicily or La Mer or Tom Ford or anything like that, but like, it's just something to consider. It does really bother me that you don't get a full ounce, and then you also don't get to see how much you're using. I do want to state another side of this argument. If you don't wear like full coverage, right? If you're not building this up to medium and you're just using a very light bit of it and you get what you want out of it, I think it'll last you a really long time. However, I don't think that this would be like an everyday foundation. For context, I am someone who started the year with like, I don't know, 8 foundations in my foundation drawer, and then slowly but surely either decluttered or finished some of those foundations. And that was rollover from last year. My foundation lasted me well over a year. It did. In my collection, it lasted well over a year. But even now, I have 3 other foundations that I keep in rotation, so I'm not using this one every time. And beyond that, I don't wear makeup every day. And that's like a fact. Like, I wear makeup a handful of times a week, either to record or when I go hang out with friends or if I go out for the evening. So I think this is the kind of foundation, if you like wanted a foundation, if you go out every weekend or you have events that you like to go to throughout the week, if you're like someone who goes to like galas or like, I don't know, you go to events and you want to look nice, I think this is a really, really excellent foundation for that kind of thing. But it looks really nice during the day too, so if you would wear it as your daily foundation, I would understand. But I'm just trying to make sense of the price point for someone who would be using it unlike the way that I use it. And I don't think the way that I use it or the amount that I use it would make sense for a normal person's makeup collection, because I'm operating under the idea that I might be talking to some people who only ever have one foundation in their collection and might be considering this being that foundation. I know a lot of the people who watch me have many foundations, so them spending this much and liking it, they're gonna run through it probably around the same pace as I do, if not longer, if they have more foundations than me. Finally, I'm gonna step to the side. 20 shades? Now, I don't know a lot about the owner of Surratt Beauty, but I know that like he was under some other person and then spun off and did his own brand. Just stay with my vague references. Like, I'm pretty sure that's correct. I'm sorry if it's not. I will throw up like a Wikipedia article or an article that I find kind of explain that. I'll link it down below because I know they exist because I think I've looked this up before. That leads me to believe that this person is a professional makeup artist. I just think if you're a professional makeup artist and you are releasing your own line, you know how important it is to have deep shades. You never know what your client might look like and what their skin tone might be when you're walking into a work situation. So let's say a makeup artist decides to use Surratt Beauty as their foundations, which I think this would be like really beautiful foundation for photo shoots and on film and things like that. I think it's a really great foundation. I think it's really beautiful for that. However, you're jumping a lot of skin tones. And I would say that the shade range is just weird. It has like a lot of undertones that get some focus that you don't normally see, like a lot of peach undertones, which you don't normally see because like normally when you're shopping at Sephora, it's like, do you have a pink undertone or a yellow undertone, or are you neutral? So I do think that's like a little bit interesting that there is something to provide to some skin tones that might get missed in other foundation ranges, but we could go deeper. And I've never seen the lightest shade in person, but I'm gonna guess it's like maybe not the lightest. I use shade 3, I think I mentioned that earlier, and it's actually listed as a different shade on different websites. So on Surratt's website, it's like light pink, but I've seen it as a light peach on other websites, so then it's like there's some inconsistency there. Anyway, I would like to see the shade range expanded. However, I'm going to say this, and this kind of in reference to the price point as well. Surratt goes on sale a lot. You can probably find it on a deal. In fact, over Labor Day weekend, I didn't know that it was going to go 50% off, or I would have had this video up beforehand and I'd been like, try it now, it's $37. But that does leave me like the slightest bit concerned that maybe this foundation is going away. However, it did not go on sale on Surratt's website, and there were a lot of other high-end retailers that carry this foundation that didn't have it on sale and had a lot in stock. I can't speak to whether or not it's going, either the foundation's going away or that the brand is going away. I did pause for concern whenever I saw that, because not one, but many people were letting me know that this was on sale. Unfortunately, and probably fortunately, my shade was out of stock on all of the retailers that were selling it at a discount for Labor Day. So I didn't buy another backup, but I probably will at some point because it's my favorite foundation. If it gets discontinued, I guess we just go on the hunt for a new one. And the idea of that really stresses me out, and I don't like the idea of that. I've lamented my issues with it. Let me tell you why I love it. You don't need a lot of it to get a very nice blurred. Oh, it's so good. Like, it's so good. I love the way it looks on my skin whenever I've freshly applied it. It's just like, I swear to God, it's like a filter for your skin. And I understand that some people call high coverage the filter. I think the filter is all in blur. It's all in the blur. It's like, how much are you refracting light and distorting people's vision to make my skin look more perfect? Because I don't like a lot of coverage, because I think that if it has like a good amount of blur, then that does most of the work. I'm saying that from a very privileged place. I don't have super problematic skin. I always think that my biggest issue is like I have like really, really rosy cheeks, and I like to cover that up. But it's just like, I want the blur, babe. I want the blur. The product layers, well, if you do want to build it up to medium coverage, you can get to that. But I would say if you were interested in using this as a full coverage foundation, I would just say skip it. It's not worth the amount of money that you'd be spending to go through it that fast, because you'd just be using more product. I do really find that if you focus it on the center of your face and then blend outward, you get like the best effect with the least amount of product, and that's like how I would recommend applying it. The product also feels like nothing on the skin. I just think it's a really, really comfortable foundation. I think it moves with the skin. I think if you have aging skin, it's going to be really good it's going to rebound from maybe any creasing that you might have. Like, it's just super adaptable. Like I said, the blur, the finish, the everything. I remember the first time I remember when I put this on my face for the first time. I was like, I can't believe I spent this much on a foundation. That was like number one thing. Second thing, I don't know about you, whenever you buy something expensive, like more expensive than you want to pay for something, and it just ends up being good, like it ends up meeting expectations, nothing is worse than that. Because I put it on and I was like, I hope I hate this. I was like, I hope I put this on and I like don't like this, because that'd be better for me. I swiped it on one half of my face and I was like, damn, it really looks like someone just put a beauty filter on me. It's so good for me. Is this going to be the perfect foundation for everyone? No. I think if you have oily skin and you really like to avoid a dewy finish, this isn't going to be the foundation for you. I'm not going to sit here and say that it is going to be for you. Just because I have oily skin and I like a dewy finish, it's not going to be for you. Oh, I meant to mention earlier, today I have color corrector on, I have concealer on, and I have this foundation on, and it just plays really well and blends really well into all of the other things I have on my face. I just wanted to point that out, because I think that sometimes whenever you start playing with foundations, with concealers and other things, like I did mention it plays well with powders and cream products on top of it, but when you get the full fantasy going with like color corrector and layering a bunch of different things on your cheek before you're even putting the foundation on, I think it's important to like know that it plays well with all of those. I think if you have aging skin and that's like a big concern for you, or if you have large pores, I think this is going to be really, really good for you. I do think it's like pretty important to like mention that sometimes foundations that are formulated for people who have like aging skin and are starting to or like already have the effects of aging showing in their skin, it's okay that it doesn't work for people who it doesn't work for. Like for younger people, they can grab like almost any foundation and make it look really great, because it's like the concerns, they're not coming to those people yet. So I just like to point that out before we wrap things up. But yeah, if you have dry skin, aging skin, I think you would really like this foundation and get on with it quite well. Like I said, this foundation you can normally find on a deal. I believe that Surratt's website offers 20% off your first purchase if you wanted to buy it through there. And like I said, just this weekend, it was 50% off at a couple different retailers. And I've seen it on sale, like Bergdorf Goodman does a sale every summer, and it's normally included in that. That's when I bought my first backup of it. So just know that you can buy it on a deal, but I'm telling you the whole truth. If I needed to buy it without a sale, I would. All right, I think that's all for me and my thoughts on the Surratt Dew Drop Foundation. If you found this review helpful and you're new here, I would love to have you subscribe. I do foundation reviews every now and then. They'll probably be more frequent next year with how I'm planning to budget. Right now, they're a little bit fewer and far between because I'm trying not to bring too much into my collection. As I said, I like to love my collection as it currently is for the most part, but I do, when I try a new foundation, like to do a really detailed thing like this. You can also check my playlist up here to see all of the other foundations that I've reviewed. Make sure you like this video before you leave it. I would really appreciate it. And share this with anyone you think might be interested in this foundation. I know this isn't the hottest commodity. Like, most people aren't thinking about this foundation right now. Also on patreon.com if you would like to support me there. And that's that. That's all on that. Remember to follow your haute and you will find me. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you in my next video. Bye. Friends. You know, people get to the end of the video and I'm sure they're just like, what are they about? And I ask myself that same question every day.